The following is a presentation of the Bellator Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker, Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars, cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals, cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker, Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Bellator Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson, and we are finally back for the new year. How's it going, fellas?
It's cold, it's dark, there's snow on the ground. It's just the most miserable time of the year.
How's it going on your end, Steve?
Pretty good. Pretty much you got to be forced to do it. Pretty much everybody, nobody's going out and chilling outside. Everybody's getting cozy, especially this past weather's been really crappy for, I would say, the Midwest, Missouri. But other than that, saw some UFC this past weekend, a little warm up for what's coming up. I was pretty satisfied, but other than that, didn't do anything.
Yeah. Also, thoughts go out to all of those crazy wildfires going out there in Los Angeles, and hopefully they'll get that, contained and whatnot. And it's going to be a long rebuilding effort. I'm here. It's going to take like up to 10 years to get everything rebuilt. So thoughts go out to them. But
yeah, and if you're a conspiracy theorist saying it's all set up by the government, just stop. they ain't gonna burn down their whole state over your conspiracy shit. I've heard people say, "Oh, the Olympics are coming to LA in 2028, so they're trying to burn it all down and make way for that." They're trying to put in, I guess, a high-speed rail or transit through there, and people are saying, "Oh, they burned it down to clear the way for that." I've heard the Epstein stuff and Diddy stuff. They're trying to hide all that. Shut up. It's a fire.
Yeah, take your tinfoil hat off and just, have some sympathy. But as far as the Midwest goes, Aaron, you were saying that your year gotten off to like a cold start, and you were saying it's miserable. So.
Dude, it's just like yesterday when I woke up, it was 0 degrees. I don't know how much snow you guys got from the storm, but I was out driving when the ice started, and like all the roads to my house were closed because cars were blocking it and off in the ditch and shit. I had to take some long way. Then it snowed. Some of my drifts were like 3 feet tall, just high as hell. I couldn't get out. I had to by hand dig out my whole driveway. There's still a ton of snow out on the ground. You can't see the ground.
Yeah. It's been pretty bad here too. I'm not gonna lie. I hadn't even been back to my office this whole new year because of the snow, like you were saying. Because I have to be in Mondays on my day to go in mandatory. I usually try to get in more than just to get out the house, but I only have to be in the office like one day out of the week. But they said stay home when it snowed, and so I'm like, okay. So I stayed over that Monday, and it snowed so much, like the way my complex is set up, like you got to go down the hill to get to the backside of where my unit is at. So I was snowed. I couldn't get out even if I wanted to. So I was snowed in for the whole last week, and they found somebody didn't finally come and clear. I guess they probably came through with the little, I don't know, not a Zamboni, but whatever this snow plow thing is. So till Friday, so I was stuck because I was supposed to go over to Steve's on Friday morning. I couldn't even get out, so I couldn't. They didn't do it till last Friday afternoon. So I was stuck here for a whole week, just sitting there going stir crazy, and didn't get out. Didn't able to drive my car till Saturday. So yeah, we got it pretty bad, like you did. And I'm surprised you were driving out in that stuff, man.
Yeah, I got home, man. I had an appointment to get the breathalyzer taken off my car. And I was like, I ain't missing this appointment, man. So I drove that night when it was icing and shit to go over to the shop, get it taken off.
Man, you didn't have that thing on for that long, did you?
Like 9 months.
Not too bad. How's it feel?
Dude, it's good because that breathalyzer, when you get in your car to start it, you can't start your car. You got to wait for this thing to start up. Well, it starts up slow when it's cold out. So it's like 2 minutes. So you're sitting there freezing, car not running for 2 minutes. Whether I run in the store, wake up in the morning, anytime, I have to do it every single time. Don't drink and drive, kids. You'll get a breathalyzer in your car.
Yeah, definitely don't want people out there drinking and driving. So, but yeah, Steve, how was it for you navigating out in that fucking terrible weather?
I waited for a day and a half to go out, and even then it was terrible. And I guess I was lucky enough to be on the side. They got to the roads pretty quick, but got out and realized that I figured certain main roads they would have plowed out. They still didn't have it. Like Admire said, saw a few cars on the side of the ditch. Luckily, I got 4-wheel drive, but I know a lot of people say who didn't, they were struggling to get some grip in certain places.
Yeah, and shout out to like the service workers who work to clear the roads, because you don't realize how vital they are until you don't have them. Because if it wasn't for them like clearing like my driveway out, I would still be stuck here, because I think that snow would still be there if it wasn't for somebody to clear it out. Because you go down the roads, you still see a lot of it piled on the side of the roads from what was cleared out. So yeah, shout out to workers who do all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was, even though I was able to drive on Saturday, it's still a good excuse to stay in and catch up with, sports. And we finally had the first UFC fight night, UFC card in general this past weekend. I don't know if y'all got a chance to browse that. I don't know if I know, Steve, you were talking about it earlier. Did you get to watch any of those fights?
Yeah, I did. It was a few good fights, a few KOs. It was good a start to the year considering it's a fight night.
I had it on. I wasn't fully dialed in, but I saw like basically the whole main card. I had it on. I mean, when I saw there was a knockout, I rewound it, and it was, like you said, there was a few on there. Somebody got like just put to sleep. I don't know if you can recall that off the top of your head.
Alisson, I think.
Yeah, that was nasty. That was
That's
nasty.
one that made me say, "Woo!"
That was that. Wasn't because he was about to knock the dude out, and then he got overzealous and got knocked out himself. Is that the one I'm thinking about?
The reason why I know this dude, because I remember him. It was not similar to knockout, but as far as like he got like floored was the same way. A Chaos Williams fight. He hit him with a straight right down the pipe and knocked him out pretty quick. I mean, I guess MMA math, you can't always go by body size, because he was built as far as like but they got in a firefight, and dude wait till he was slipping and countered him and kind of floored him the same way as Chaos Williams did.
Yeah. I don't know if it was like a gassed out thing or something, but he got flatlined. So
I think he has a substantial chin. I think it's vulnerable. The Chaos, although these are strong people, he's been getting KO'd, and I think from what I remember, I think he had a few fights he won. But I think he got KO'd again, so I guess it's climbing back up the ladder.
Yeah, I didn't even really plan on talk about this fight night, but I'm kind of going off the cuff because there was a few things that happened on it, including that main event. Dern was able to get that was it an arm bar? Yeah, she got the arm bar on the third round, because the first round she got it, and then she lost that second round, but then able to finish. I didn't think she had enough time, but she was able to get the tap. So I guess she's back on track of getting the title shot, and they've been trying to vouch for her to kind of be the next it girl in strawweight. So I guess we'll see what she does with that in the future. But that was an interesting way to kick off the year. But you know how we usually kick these preview shows off. We usually talk about stories inside or outside of the cage, and it's a lot on your slate, Amir. So what do you want to start off with?
Yeah, a lot of big headlines recently. So I'll start out with yesterday. Came across my feed. An ex-champion has left the UFC, asked to be released from their contract. Do you know who I would be talking about?
I saw a glimpse of this. Was it Ronda Rousey and Holly Holm, wasn't it?
The one I was talking about is Holly Holm. She asked to be released. I believe she had 2 fights left on her contract, but they just let her go. So she'll be on the market.
Yeah, we got the global fighting league that's about to start up in April. I'm sure there's some spots on there. I mean, it's not that shocking, but she's always been a reliable body that you could put out there the headline of fight night or the headline a prelim or kick off the show. So how old is she now? What, 43, 44?
Let's take a look. 43.
Yeah, so she got in pretty late. So you're like, yeah, I didn't realize she was that old, but she's up there. So it's not that big of a shock. And she's always been trading wins and losses. And I don't know. Like I said, like just because she still has name value, it's you think like she may be able to finish out the contract, but that's how the sport goes. It's an unforgiving sport.
Yeah, like you said, she's had her ups and downs over the years and stuff, but also, I mean, I still feel like she has a very big name in women's MMA. She was only making like 275. I mean, that's good money, compared to the average person, but on a fighter scale, and somebody that's been around, that's got, she beat Ronda Rousey at one time. 275 isn't a whole lot for her. So, I'm willing to guess that she could probably make close to that, jump into another one of the bigger promotions.
I don't even know what's the status of PFL, because people are talking about
that's on my stories.
So we'll get to that. I didn't mean to bury the lead, but as far as Holly Holm goes, I don't know. Is she the Buster Douglas of women's combat sports? Because she got that big win over Ronda, but really didn't do a lot after that. She was in the lead in the Misha Tate fight. I think it was probably 2-3 minutes left in the 5th round, and Misha got that choke on her. That could have literally changed the history of her career if she would have just held on for those last couple minutes. And she got a shot at that featherweight title, came up short against Jermaine Duranami. I don't know. Is she the Buster Douglas of MMA? Amir?
I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Her biggest win since Rousey has to be either Pennington or Irene Aldana. But are those really still big wins? I mean, I don't know if Buster Douglas went on to beat any other big names. So I think she's had enough wins. She's got a couple other than the 2 that I mentioned. I think the 2 that I mentioned were her biggest wins, but it's not like she went on like horrible losing streaks. She did go on 3 after Misha Tate, or it started with Misha Tate. But other than that, she's got wins, losses. She's lost to Kayla Harrison, Amanda Nunes, Cyborg. I mean, she's lost to the bigger heavy hitters. So, she ain't the Buster Douglas.
But imagine if she would have won those ones. So, like you said, her biggest win was, who was it?
I'm guessing her biggest wins were either Irene Aldana or the Raquel Pennington.
Raquel, so that's a former champion, but she wasn't a champion when she beat her. So I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I say if it wasn't for Rousey, I mean, you consider her a contender. Yeah, she's fought top people, but she just seems like a few wins, not enough to solidify her as to be noticed other than what her achievement is that I always will remember as is, she's coming in from a whole nother combat sport coming in UFC and knocking out one of the biggest stars that the UFC ever seen was Ronda Rousey. She was a good fighter. I give her credit. I think she's good for achieving a UFC belt. As y'all said, whatever promotion, I think she'll do good just being a former UFC champion. But I do think she is getting older, and I think the younger people, she either can keep up with them or just can't get over the top 5 or whoever's in the or the top 3. She always comes short.
Yeah, I mean, she just always seemed like to be at the wrong place at the wrong time as far as like timing on her losses and stuff. It's like you said, she lost to Nunes, Cyborg. If she would have won one of those, that would have maybe propelled her career in a different direction. When she was, besides getting that Rousey win, she was always the bridesmaid and never the bride as far as like getting over that hump. So that's why I said it's kind of Buster Douglas shit.
I mean, Buster Douglas actually went on to have a really good record. He only lost 2 more fights or 2 fights after the Mike Tyson fight.
See, so it might be giving Buster Douglas a little less credit for, what he did. But yeah. But like you said, maybe she signs with another promotion, and I guess that we could transition into more other stories on your docket. Is a PFL story in the news?
Yeah, so PFL has announced that they are defuncting Bellator. So I think they've already removed all Bellator branding from the website and everything. And with this has come a lot of different, kind of a spider web of stuff that's happening. So Bellator's no more. PFL is going to keep kind of a tournament format, but they're going to change the way they do the point system, and they are cutting the pay of the tournament winners. There's always winners that win money. And branching off another way, they are cutting other fighters' pay. They're cutting a lot of fighters from the organization. So you're going to see a lot of people hit the, free agent market in the MMA world. Some go down to smaller promotions. Maybe some might make it to the UFC. And the one I'm thinking that's going to make it to the UFC is Pitbull. Patricio has been released by PFL and Bellator. Yes, has been released. So that is one I would expect to make it to the UFC. He was very vocal about PFL making these changes, and that might have led to his release. He called on Francis Ngannou to kind of, stand up for him. He put on X.
I don't mean to cut you off. Which Pitbull is it? Patricio or Patricio? It's 2
Patricio.
Pitbull. Okay, so it's the older Pitbull. No, it's the younger Pitbull. The younger Pitbull. Patricio's the younger one. Patricio's the younger one. Patricio's the older one.
Yeah. So he on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, kind of sent a message to Francis Ngannou, basically saying, "Are you aware of the things the PFL is doing to the fighters, putting new contracts? Will you speak up for us? I think it's time for a PFL fighters union." And in another tweet, or I guess do you still call it a tweet on there? I don't know. He said, self-called co-leader in MMA and Fighters First organization is cutting a bunch of fighters and forcing others to take pay cuts up to 70%. So they are cutting some of the fighters' pay up to 70%.
Man, there's a lot to unpack with that. We kind of saw it coming where Bellator would get, dissolved into the PFL universe or whatnot. So that's really not a surprise. But as far as downsides and other aspects, like that's not really a good sign, I guess, as far as the long-term vitality of the company. I don't know. And then you got this global fighting league starting with a lot of these former UFC fighters. I don't know. I feel like the Bellator brand was a little bit stronger than the PFL brand, but PFL was the one with the funding, and so they got the spoils of the win as far as absorbing the company, because Bellator was around since late 2000s, early 20 teens and whatnot. And I feel like they were the stronger brand. PFL didn't come on the scene. So like, well, they were the world. What was it? What was their old name? World Fighting League. Before they were
there were so many of them. I don't remember which ones of
World
them
Series
merged,
of World Series.
yeah,
of
World
Fighting,
Series of Fighting.
where like Justin Gaethje was there when they were that where they were at, and then they changed their name to PFL and did another format. But I don't know. I feel like Bellator, like even though they were never on UFC level, but they were competing pretty strongly when it came to like name values, because you saw a lot of the guys that had big names in UFC went over to Bellator and finished off strong, and even some guys were still in the midst of being in their prime UFC. Some of them went over to Bellator, so I feel like the name's stronger. And then PFL bought it, and they had it around for a year, I guess, and now they're getting rid of it, and now they're having issues with the money. I don't know. It's not a good look. I guess we got to see how this year plays out. It may not be a PFL next year if they're downsizing the wins, because did they say a price of what they're doing with the winners now? Because it used to be $1 million for the people that
Yeah,
won.
they're cutting it in half. It's going down to 500,000.
It's not a good look, and you think they were getting like money off of the being TV partners with ESPN, but maybe that contract is not as big as one may think. I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been too much of a Bellator follower, I would say, except for the last probably 4 years. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. And the PFL, and you say Bell, I just don't see why they would keep two organizations running. Call them two things if you just wouldn't combine them or get rid of certain fighters. Like I say, my opinion on it, like I'm a UFC fan, so it's kind of hard for me to be transparent about other PFL, like PFL or Bellator, because I can't even name all the stars they have, but I do know they have a lot of stars that the UFC has. And if a UFC fighter was a UFC fighter fighting in Bellator, I would watch. To me, I wouldn't be surprised, just from my perspective. I would say it's a matter of time, especially it's almost like you have to treat it like the little brother company, and then you got one big star over here in Ngannou representing PFL. I wouldn't be surprised they were getting rid of that or just reorganizing it to make it one.
So what's the word out there, I guess, online, as far as like long term when it goes to PFL? Are people saying like this is it for them, or do people have like hope that they're just working out some things and it's gonna be able to work itself out in the long term?
Well, the consensus of just what I've seen people saying is they think the PFL's out of money. They think they spent too much on Francis Ngannou, and kind of we talk about the expression putting your eggs in one basket. I think they did, but I think that they messed up by letting him go do the boxing stuff. They should have instantly got him some TV time and in the cage fighting to get more viewership. And I think I mentioned it last time we had a show that Dana White said something at one of the press conferences about PFL being out of money. And, he said that last month, and then this happens. I don't know. I mean, it's just not a good look. If you're cutting all the other fighters' pay and you paid Francis this much money and he doesn't really even do anything. So it's just not a good look. I would expect a lot of fighters to want to leave if their pay's being cut. I don't foresee a PFL being here next year at this time.
Might be right, but it's better for MMA in general if it's more options than just the UFC. So hopefully PFL will figure out a way to sort everything out. If not, then I think this Global Fight League off the rip is gonna make some waves. So at least we have that is an alternative. They just signed Paige Van Zandt as well. You got those guys over there like Luke Rockhold, and I think Tyron Woodley's over there. So I know Kane is coaching. So PFL better get on it. Like, they might be in third place instantly if this CFL takes off like people think it will. So we'll be on the lookout to see how things play out as far as that goes. But what else was on your docket, Admire?
This happened around the time of our last show, so I don't think we got to talk about it. But did you hear about the bare knuckle president wanting to have a $25 million tournament?
Nah, I didn't hear about that.
It's having a $25 million tournament open to any combat sports athlete in any organization. Says everybody's invited to enter this tournament. That could get really interesting when you open up the doors like that. You know, we talk about the big ones, the UFC, the PFL, the Bellator, but you know, there's other fight organizations overseas that like we don't even cover or talk about. You know what I mean? Every country has multiple, you know, fight leagues. That'd be interesting to see a lot of those guys. Like, you know, if you think about like the old Pride days and stuff, there's probably still some old Pride fighters that are still doing smaller promotions, you know, that might be interested in coming back and doing bare knuckle.
Like, as far as who you think as far as that goes, though?
But somebody like, you know, I'll just throw out the name Fedor. You know, Fedor Emelianenko was one of the best heavyweights in, you know, MMA, but last couple of years he kind of got knocked down by a lot of people. So somebody like him, he could stand and trade. You know, he's got heavy hands still. I'm not just saying specifically him, but there's still fighters that we know from Pride that are probably hitting local circuits that might be interested in coming here and doing that. There's ex-UFC fighters that, you know, were good stand-up fighters but didn't have a good ground game. Maybe they come back for something like this where they can just stand and trade.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, but do we want to see a 46-year-old Fedor Emelianenko coming back to bare knuckle? It's like we said before, it's a whole different sport. He throws hands with gloves on, but no gloves, it's brutal. We see how good Platinum Mike Perry is when it comes to the bare knuckle, but when he goes over like the boxing and MMA, it's a different story. I don't know how like a guy like Fedor would do. He'd probably get fucked up.
It could, but I mean, I was just using him as an example. But like somebody like Mark Hunt, you know, he was awesome watching him fight because he just knocked people out. But you know, Brock Lesnar exposed him. Hey, lay on top of Mark Hunt, he can't do anything. You know, somebody like him, throw him into bare knuckle. You know, if this tournament's wide open, some of them old school heavy hitters are going to want to come out.
Yeah, and I guess we really don't know how they'll translate until they actually do it. Because who would have thought Mike Perry really like the king of bare knuckle as far as looking at how his MMA career kind of went towards the end of it when he was in the organization. But that's an interesting concept. What are your first thoughts on it, Steve?
I can see it somewhat happening in that format. Maybe people just wandering around with, you know, trying to find something to do to make money as far as combat, how we see MMA fighters drift over into the bare knuckle boxing world. And hey, maybe even a boxer, but you know, highly doubt it. But yeah, I can see it out, and it can make things more interesting. I don't think anybody would breach contract as far as in the UFC. Dana would let that happen. But anything outside of that, I can see it happening.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think any UFC guys would participate in it. But as far as weight classes, like, did they specify what weight classes this tournament will be in?
No, I didn't read that deep into it. I just, you know, I've seen the initial plans for it. I would think if you're trying to do something that big, though, it would have to be like an open weight.
Nah, that would. I don't know if that would go well. Open weight? Like, yeah, I mean, it's a skill thing. So like, the smaller guy can beat a bigger guy, but it's weight classes for a reason. But just off the top of your head, if they were to bring in some, I guess MMA stars, maybe some boxing stars, who would you want to see in there off the top of your head? That's not Mark Hunter, like Fedor.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. If you could pick anybody, living, dead, current fighter, past fighter, who would be your number one pick to win a bare knuckle tournament?
That's still hard to
open weight. Pick the biggest guy you want. Who would be your number one in the whole world?
That's hard to pick like past guys because you just go ahead and do the easy pick and say like the Tyson or somebody of that nature. But as far as like current guys, that's an interesting question. So I'm thinking of like all sports. I would say that's hard to. I would say. I would like my chances in picking like a Deontay Wilder to go in a tournament and maybe make some noise in there. I don't know about you, Steve.
Well, he said dead or alive. I was thinking the first person I thought was Anthony Johnson. Rest in peace.
Oh wow, yeah, he'd be good in there.
Somebody that I would put in there, man. I can see Rampage would have been good. I think boxing oriented, heavy hitter. I think he's done good.
I say like a George Foreman too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know what you think, Amar.
Man, I thought about this because I knew I was going to ask it, and I came up with just like a couple, and like you just said George Foreman. I was thinking somebody similar to him, like a Ray Mercer.
Yeah,
I mean, he hits hard, he's fast, So I kind of picked one from each area. That would be my boxer. If I would do a kickboxer, I would do like Tyrone Spong or like Joe Schilling, just because they're used to the different angles that you could use in a bare knuckle.
Shit.
But
why not even Alex Pereira?
Yeah. I mean, he would be in there in the kickboxing guys like that can hit them angles. So yeah, Alex would be my MMA fighter to go into it and win it. But I think when you go to bare knuckle, you almost have to go with a boxer.
What y'all think about Diaz? You think he would participate in a bare knuckle?
I mean, but he's not like a power guy. He's just like a volume guy, and I feel like you've mentioned in the past, like it's not a pretty fight in there. It's like you don't want to go in there and be throwing jabs in there. You just want to go in there and get the guy out of there fast. So I don't know if he would equate well to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would enter it though, just to keep his name out there, get paid good. I guarantee you they would pay him on the side to be in it. They need all the eyes they can get.
I say even like a prime Johnny Hendricks or Jake Ellenberger in there as well.
Oh yeah, Jake Ellenberger. He used to throw some nasty hooks.
Yeah, like some guys like that. Like
what about Aldo?
Compact. I don't know Aldo. He's like known for his kicks though.
Yeah,
his hands.
Well, he's been working on his hands lately. As of late MMA career, he's got some good boxing skills, but seems he got outboxed his last fights somehow.
Even like a prime McGregor with that left hand, he like be suited for that. But definitely. I think he's giving up a little bit too much weight. Like his prime was in the featherweight, so yeah, that's a interesting question. Like I'm trying to think, like you said, with angles, Izzy was a known for being a well-known kickboxer before he got to the UFC as far as like angles and stuff goes. And I'm thinking of like heavyweights off the top of my head, like maybe who knows, like a prime Stipe,
But I
Golden
mean,
Glove boxer.
I mean, we seen what happened to one guy in real life, though. Kimbo Slice. I mean, he was the backyard king.
Yeah, if it was just straight up boxing, who knows how he would do with bare knuckle. Yeah, he might be well suited for that. I was thinking of somebody else as far as like the heavyweights goes, like an earlier UFC fighter.
Overeem, like prime roided
Yeah.
out Overeem.
Yeah, Ubereem would do well at, like maybe like a Bigfoot would do good in that. Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah, just because you couldn't reach him, and he'd had that such a reach on you.
Yeah. Ken Shamrock, who knows how he would do? Prime Ken Shamrock. Chuck Liddell, we didn't even talk about him. Prime
I
Chuck.
don't know. I don't think Liddell would do good though, because I mean, all he had was he always reached way back. I don't know how well that's going to work in bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, but he like Prime Chuck is knocking motherfuckers out. Yeah, so that's gonna be. I'm curious how this whole tournament plays out. Hopefully, they get some guys that are in there to just like to toss and throw it. Did they have a timeline on when they're gonna get it up and going?
It just says that's the plan for 2025.
Yeah. Shit, we're almost halfway through the month. That's crazy to think about. The older we get, the faster time goes by. It's up and going for as far as the year goes, but were there any other stories on your docket, am I?
No, nothing else too big.
For some reason I thought it was a story with Islam and Diaz fighting or something like that.
It happened last month at the one of the pressers. I didn't read too much into it. Something about a water bottle got thrown, which sounds up Diaz's alley, but he called out Islam and said, I thought your religion wasn't supposed to lie, or something like that, basically calling him a liar.
Always drama, and for some reason there's always water bottles that go on with that. So I don't know. I don't want to get it, like you said, it happened last month. You said,
yeah, it happened last month, and they're still arguing about it or whatever.
Well, since it happened so long ago, I'm not gonna dig too deep in the weeds with that one, but we do have our first pay-per-view of the year that's going on this weekend. UFC 311, Makachev versus Sarukian 2, going down in the Intuit Dome down there in Inglewood, California. So, like we were talking about earlier, wildfires going on there. So, I don't know if you saw anything that came across your radar as far as like the moving around as far as the pay-per-view goes in regards to the wildfires. Any news on your end, am I, on that aspect of it?
I Googled it earlier, and the first thing that popped up is something about the UFC is still on, even though it's close to the fires. Like one report I seen the other day said it was like 5 miles from where they were supposed to have it. So I don't know.
That seems a little bit close for comfort. A little too close for comfort, I mean. We saw what that. So, UFC and WWE are owned by the same company, parent company, TKO, and they just had the Netflix show, the first Netflix show of Raw that was in the Intuit Dome, not yesterday, the week before then. So I guess the space like out not quite 2 weeks apart. So I don't know if they did that on purpose, but I think that was like a day before the fires really got underway. I don't know. My timeline's a little bit off, so I'm pretty sure it was before the fires got started. So I don't know. Would this be a time? Because we saw that, what was it, the John Jones fight where he was supposed to fight in Vegas and they had to move it with like, was it like a week or two ahead of time, and they had to move it to Los Angeles? So I'm surprised they haven't tried to maybe pivot with this as far as like people being able to travel and just being safe in general. Maybe it's too much money on the line.
If I was them, I would move it just for the safety of everyone. And being that close to the fires, like the air quality has to be dog shit.
Yeah, that'll affect the fighters.
Yeah, but like, how many people are really going to show up to this event? Like,
Oh,
you know,
show up. People are crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, how many of their houses just burned down or some shit? You know, like I don't know. I don't think it's a good look to even keep it on. You know, while everything's going to hell around it. Just move it to Vegas. What is it? Vegas like 3 hours?
It's 4 hours. You can move it to San Diego. I think it's an hour and a half, 2 hours. Go up 5 hours to the Bay Area. And we just saw it with the NFL. They moved the Rams game to Arizona 4 hours or 5 hours down the road in the Phoenix area. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Who knows what's going on behind the scenes? But it looks like you said they're still gonna have the card going on down there at the newly built Intuit Dome where the Clippers now play. That just opened this past fall. So we'll see how this plays out. Hopefully everybody's safe. Hopefully, like you said, the air quality hasn't been the best. Maybe things will clear up a little bit. Like that might affect fighters, but they have the early preliminary card kicking off on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and UFC Fight Pass. I didn't know Disney Plus is starting to carry content because I was like looking up like my scores on ESPN app, and they'll show you that what's broadcasted. And I saw like some basketball games are on Disney Plus as well, so it's interesting. I guess since Disney owns it all, they're like, you might as well. They're like, it's no harm in putting it on Disney Plus as well as ESPN Plus. So.
Yeah. Disney and ESPN. Disney owns ESPN or one or the other. But yeah, I noticed that. I pulled up Disney Plus for something, and there was a hockey game on. I was like, "What? Okay." Like it was like discovering all new free channels.
Yeah,
even though I'm paying for it.
Who knows what Walt Disney thinks in his chamber, his cryology, his freezing behind the scene. Maybe they'll unthaw him and get his thoughts. But kicking off on this card in the flyweight division, we have Tajir Ulanbekov versus Clayton Carpenter. And then bantamweight, we have Ricky Tercios facing Bernardo Sopaj. And bantamweight, we have Rinya Nakamura facing Yuen Garoff. And then in the women's bantamweight, we have Carol Rosa facing Aline Perez. And capping it off in the lightweight division, we have Grant Dawson versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. And not gonna lie, I don't know if any of these fights intrigue me that much. If I'm around, I'll probably take a look at them, but I don't know if you'll be able to catch any of these, Admire.
No, not the early prelims. Nobody sticks out to me that I need to watch. So if I ain't got nothing else going on, I'll turn it on and just have it in the background.
How about you, Steve?
Not at all. Can't recognize a fighter at all. So, like y'all said, I might have it on the background, or if I have nothing to do, I'll sit and watch it.
Nakamura's been on my radar, but I'm not really familiar with the guy he's fighting. So if I'm around, I might check out the replay of that if I find out it's a good fight. So, yeah, interesting. But moving on to the prelims, that's going to be on ESPN News and Disney Plus, ESPN Plus. Middleweight, we have Zach Reese facing Azamat Bekov. Heavyweight division, the big boys. This should be an interesting one. We have Jalton Almeida facing Sergey Spivak. Then the bantamweight, Peyton Talbot versus Ronnie Barcelos. And then to cap it off, we have Bogdan Guskov facing Billy Alekanan. That's a couple of fights that I might be tuned in. How about you, Admire?
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones on this one. The Almeida fight, definitely a good one. The one I'm looking forward to the most, Peyton Talbot. Peyton Talbot, yeah. I've seen all his fights so far. Looks amazing. I'm going to go ahead and say that he'll be a title contender one day. I think this will be his big breakthrough performance where the UFC really grabs a hold and catapults him up. So I'll be tuned in to watch these ones.
And Steve, I know you are big on Peyton Talbot as well. You gonna try to tune into that one?
Oh yeah, it's definitely gonna be good. His accuracy against Rayoni Barcelos, who has a few knockout highlights using his hands. I think it'll be a good contested fight.
So how about this positioning of Jalton Almeida on the card? Because sometime last year they were like they were like debating like whether him or Tom Aspinall should be in a title contender, and then he took that loss that kind of backtracked them, but he's not even on the main card. So what do you think about his trajectory right now, Admire?
Man, yeah, it was surprising when I was going over that to see his name on the list. I mean, even Sergey is ranked number 7, Almeida is ranked number 6, like, and just thrown in the middle of a prelim. That's a weird thing because both of them, with a win or two, are right back in title contention. So, I mean, that was real surprising. I don't know if they both did something to piss off the boss. I don't remember them being in any snoozers. So, yeah, it's kind of weird seeing them in that position.
Yeah, what do you think about his position, and Steve? Because the only loss that Almeida is really taking is against Curtis Blades. He got knocked out, but then he avenged that, not against Blades, but he beat Romanov, choked him out. Back in June.
I'm surprised with both. Almeida, he was on the rise, and I think probably the way he lost, or because I didn't expect him to lose. You would think, and although everybody's human in this game, he seemed more durable than the last loss he had. And then looking at Spivak, he had pretty much impressive wins with people who get let's say higher on the card sometimes. I mean, he's been on the radar for heavyweight. Like you said, 1 or 2 fights, he should be in title contention. I wonder why they were thrown on the prelims. I could say they can easily been on the main card, considering looking at it. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Like I said, maybe they pissed off somebody. Maybe they got caught sleeping with one of the boss's wives or something. Who knows? But I'm definitely going to be tuning into that, see how that turns out. But let's move on to the main card, fellas. Kicking off this one, the curtain jerker, this one. Mr. Reliable here in the middleweight division. We got Kevin Holland facing Rainer de Ritter. This new year, so brand new start to keeping up with our records and predicting these fights. So I'll let you kick this one off, Admire. Who you got in this one?
This pick, it gets me every time. I when I pick him, he loses. When I pick against him, he wins. I'm just going to keep up with tradition. I'm taking Kevin Holland.
Hold up. I don't even know you had like a kind of a track record of not picking the right Kevin Holland fights and whatnot.
Yeah, it's always been a weird thing with him. When I root against him and bet against him, he wins. I just pick him every time now. It's a thing.
Okay, so you're taking Kevin Holland in this one.
Oh, and if you want some odds, I can get the odds pulled up here.
Yeah, what are those?
So Kevin Holland, this is a pick'em. Kevin Holland minus 102, and Ritter is minus 118. So it's a pick'em.
So they're both minuses.
Yeah.
So it's like almost literally, it is literally a pick'em if they're both minuses, even though one is slightly favored by $10. How much? What was the?
Holland is minus 102. Ritter is minus 118. So it's 16 apart.
The one because I'm seeing minus 105 and minus 115 on ESPN bets. So you got Holland. Who you got, Steve?
I'll go with Holland. Other dude's a newcomer. He did get a win off somebody been in the UFC, but it's nobody significant. Gerald Marsh, I forgot his name. So Kevin Holland been through some wars, and I think he can take on a newcomer. I'll go with Kevin Holland.
All right. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland as well. I mean, basically like a 50-50 pick, so who knows? The Ritter could also win as well. But Kevin Holland, I mean, it's time. He's no spring chicken. He's 33, 34. So it's time for the rubber to meet the road. This might be his last push to maybe even try to sniff a title contention, or he's going to be known as the perennial gatekeeper if he goes on a trading wins and losses. So he needs to win this one. Moving on to the lightweight division, we have Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. This should be a good one. What are your thoughts, Admire?
Yeah, this is a real good fight. I like both of them a lot. Moicano, I mean, he's been in there with everybody. Beneil Dariush has been in there with everybody. Dariush has been one of my favorite fighters for a long time. Dariush plus 145 underdog to Moicano's minus 175 favorite.
Still a close fight.
Yeah. I'm going to take Dariush in this one. I think he's going to come back strong.
And maybe more. So Dariush, when's the last time that Dariush has lost?
His last fight, Sarukian knocked him out. It was a title eliminator back in December of 2023, so over a year ago.
Yeah, man, I keep forgetting it's 2025 now. So, I mean, he's taking some time off to, heal and get his mind right, because that's one thing a lot of fighters do wrong. I think they come back a little bit too fast from getting knocked out. So it looks like he went the right route to get right. But
yeah, and I mean, Moicano is on like a awesome win streak. He's beat Brad Riddle, Drew Dober, Jalen Turner, and that Benoit Saint Denis. Yeah, so I mean, Moicano's no slouch in this. I mean, it should be a good fight. I think Dariush can get him down and just win on the ground.
Steve,
I think I go with Moicano. I think he's younger, and I think Dariush is a good fighter, as is skilled at just being knowledgeable when to do certain things, when other people are vulnerable transitioning on the ground. Dariush is good at, and a few stand-up skills if he has to do it. But I think Moicano's pretty good on the ground and has a superior stand-up skills. And I like his attitude, how he's calling people out and slowly coming to the top. Dariush, he's been knocked out or not having too much of a good of a career as of lately, either decisions or being KO'd. I think Renato's very determined, and I think he'll be able to get this one.
So you got Moicano.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go against the grain in this one. I'm gonna go with Moicano too. I like the way he looks, especially against Saint Denis, because Saint Denis was the guy that people were projecting to be fast tracked to that lightweight title, and getting that TK over him, I was highly impressed. That happened back in September. They had that fight night card. Jalen Turner's another guy, rangy guy that's game, and he was able to stop him. So I think this Moicano train keeps rolling, and I think he gets the win over Dariush as well. So me and Steve got Moicano, and Admire is going with Dariush. Next one we're about to talk about seems like a grudge match, because I think these two guys are supposed to fight over the light heavyweight title, in the light heavyweight division, we got Yuri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. What are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Well, this one odds-wise is another pick 'em. Jiri plus 102, Jamal Hill plus minus 122. So there's a $24 swing between them. As far as my pick, I think Jamal Hill is scarred from his loss. He says that it was a bad stoppage. He's been, chasing around Alex, just talking. I think Jamal Hill's head is not all there into this fight. I think Jerry is very, all over the place. The way he throws his shots, he's jumping in, he's jumping out, he's coming from all different angles. And I think that Jamal Hill is just going to kind of fall to what he fell to last time. He's going to get caught. So I'm taking Jerry in this one.
What's up with all this Jamal Hill hate online? Like, why did the fans turn on him?
Because he wouldn't stop tweeting and talking about Alex. And then he even showed up at Alex's gym and was like, oh, that was bullshit and I want a rematch and blah, blah, blah. Alex threw him the gloves, said, let's do it right here in the gym. And Jamal Hill then really cooled his jets and backed off. But, he's done nothing but talk about that fight. And I think it was a good stoppage because if you watch it in slow motion, Jamal Hill actually throws a punch at the same time as Alex. So he can't use that excuse that he wasn't ready because remember, Herb stepped in, was going to stop the fight because of the kick to Alex's nuts and Alex waved him off. Well, Jamal is saying that he wasn't ready and he wasn't reset and ready to fight, but he really threw a punch. So you were ready to fight. You got caught.
Yeah. Interesting as far as that goes. Steve, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. As far as like what's the online hate?
I guess you could get into that too, but as far as the actual fight goes, and then talk about a little bit of that online backlash after you give your predictions on the actual fight.
Well, I was gonna go, although that can get in somebody's head, I was gonna go with Jamal Hill. He's a more fresher one. Been in wars. Of course, Jerry is dangerous, but I also think from what surprised me to make me think Jamal Hill is a considerable opponent is he's disguisingly has power in his hands as a lanky light heavyweight. I think a few people surprised about that. I thought Johnny Walker, who was a pretty nifty fighter and creative, I remember at the time that I thought he was going to get knocked out or some way, fashion, and surprised us with that power and knocked Johnny Walker back into the cage. Although Glover was an older fighter, we see that he can have damage. And I think if Jerry hasn't recovered all the way from, the knockout or the wars he's been doing, because I think Jamal Hill has been sitting out longer than I think Jerry's been pretty busy compared to Jamal Hill. So,
yeah, Jerry fought twice in 2024. He beat Rakic and then lost to Pereira in June. So he's been a little bit more active than Hill. Hill lost at 300 and hasn't fought since.
Yeah, so I would say I would tilt the scale to Jamal Hill because of that. I think Jamal Hill has enough deceiving power to where if he could catch him, he could put Jiri away. Although Jiri has a good chance with, his striking alone.
Yeah, this is a tough one to pick because this fight can go either way. Like, you see Yuri finishing Hill, see Hill finishing Yuri. I don't know. I didn't like the way either guy looked against Pierre, but Pierre's a champion, so this might be an outlier. Hill went on that crazy streak before he lost to Pereira, which included a title win. Like you said, that knockout against Johnny Walker was nasty. I don't really know who to pick, but I guess I'm just gotta go with the odds because the odds I'm looking at, they have it even for Prohaska, but they have Hill as the favorite, which I don't even know how that even makes sense. So I'm gonna go with Hill, but I'm not confident in that pick. I'm gonna go with Hill to maybe even edge it out in a decision. But I don't know. I feel like Yuri's the more unpredictable striker, so I feel like Yuri could throw like anything and catch Hill, but I think he'll maybe try to be more conservative and calculated and maybe try to stay on the outside and avoid those crazy strikes from Yuri. And Yuri's got a slightly more wear and tear. But so I'm going to go with Hill, even though I'm not very confident in that pick, which takes us to the co-main event in the bantamweight division. Your champion, Merab Dvalishvili, defending his belt against Umar Nurmagomedov, cousin of Habib and brother of Usman. What are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
This is going to be a good fight. Both Sambo fighters, very high level. The odds makers do not think it's going to be a very good fight. They got Merab at a plus 245 to Umar's minus 305.
Saw that.
But yeah, so the odds makers think Umar is going to win this pretty easily, but I'm going off the past of, who they fought. Merab has beat all the big names up there: Sean O'Malley, Henry Cejudo, Peter Yan, Jose Aldo, Moraes. Like, he's beat all the big people. If you look at, Umar's list, Can you name anybody from memory that Umar's beat other than Corey Sandhagen?
Who Steve was talking about earlier, Barcelos.
Yeah. That's the only other, half recognizable name. All the others, never even heard of.
Brian Kelleher, even though he's not like a world beater, he's like one of those guys that you see him on the fight, he's going to give a tough fight, but yeah, he's not like any notable past champion, and he went on a 4-fight losing streak on his way recently.
Right. So, just looking at, their past fights, Umar has also went to a decision with a lot of these people that you've never really even heard of. So, Merab's went to decision with people that he's fought too, but he's went to a decision with O'Malley, Cejudo, Aldo, Yan, So I'm just looking at strength of schedule from the past, and I got to go with Merab.
Admire is taking Merab. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I'll go with Merab. Although Umar, that Barcelos and Sandhagen, it was a decision, but still, a fighter that's been in for a short time with a few tests to only go by versus somebody who's insured to where we've seen him, O'Malley, just on the way up, Merab's win. Umar could surprise us. It could be a matchup, styles make match, although they got similar styles. There's styles within styles. Somebody might be stronger in the area. I'll go with Merab. I wonder if there's going to be any. I know there'll probably be limited ground game, but I wonder if there's going to be stagnation. Because if that's the case, I think Umar may have a chance based off of knocking out Barcelos. I can't remember. Merab can. I can say swing and hit, but Umar's pretty impressive as far as knocking out Barcelos. So I'll still go with Merab.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see those odds like that as well, especially like Amar saying earlier, strength of schedule. And this is Merab's first defense. I can't pick against Merab, especially what I've seen him do to all the top guys in the division. Maybe the odds, Vegas usually always knows something. The house always wins. So maybe they're seeing something in training that we're not, or maybe something being reported. So retroactively looking back on this, we all might be wrong, and maybe Umar just dominates them. But I'm picking Merab in this one as well. And I think he was going to get at least a few title defenses. Like, he beat their Golden Goose and Sean O'Malley, and I don't even have the list of the top 5 guys. I don't even know who would be next after Umar. I feel like Umar kind of shot up there. What's Umar's ranking right now, Amar?
Let's see.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
But 2.
Yeah, I think he's up there number 2.
Man, he shot up. Like, he kind of shot up before I even realized it. So I have, excuse me, I have ESPN in front of me, and they have like the complete pound for pound.
Yeah, Umar's number 2.
So he's number 2 in the UFC. So we all know how UFC gets down. They'll put whoever they want to as far as the rankings go. I'm just for shits and giggles. So ESPN has them ranked number 4, and they include Bellator and all the other. So I mean, I guess that's not too far off. You said UFC has them number 2. As far as ESPN goes, they don't only Bellator or PFL person they have is Patchy Mix, and he's at number 10. So yeah, I'm not picking against Merab. I think he's gonna get, like I said, he's gonna get a few title defenses in there, but I think it's gonna go to decision. I don't think it's gonna be easy because we know how just the Magomedov family gets down in general, and how those Dagestanis train, and we'll be talking about another one in a little bit. So I think Umar probably win like 2 rounds. I think as well. I think it's gonna take 3 rounds for Merab to even get the decision, but that's why they put it in the cage. So who knows how it plays out? But let's get into the main event on this night, fellas. Lightweight division. We have your champion Islam Makhachev defending his title in a rematch against Arman Tsarukyan. And once again, I'll let you kick this off, Admire. The first time they faced each other was almost 6 years ago. It was April of 2019. So this is a rematch. So a lot of things have changed since that fight happened. But what are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Man, yeah, the odds have this heavily favored for Makhachev. Minus 380 for him and a plus 300 for Tsarukyan. Now, I don't know. I've been looking at both of their records and just who they fought since they first fought. They both had really tough fights. I think the only one that Tsarukyan lost was the Gamrot fight since then. Of course, Islam hasn't lost any since then. I want Tsarukyan to win, but I don't see a path to victory for him. I think Islam's just that good at everything. Higher level wrestling and sambo. I don't see a path to victory for Tsarukyan at all. I don't think he could beat Islam anywhere.
Oh wow, not anywhere?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's a clear path to victory.
Well, that settles that. MI has Makhachev in a landslide. What are your thoughts on this one, Steve?
I think it'll be a pretty contested fight. Although their last fight, I seen Islam looked a little bit more dominant in the wrestling, a little bit more quicker and knowledgeable on knowing when he was going to transition and getting the better upper hand on these positions on the ground. didn't see the last fight, although it's 6 years ago, didn't see too much of a threat of stand up. But we have seen Armand, if I'm not mistaken, he KO'd Dariush standing up, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean that shows something. I can't remember if he had anything significant standing up with anybody else. I say I don't know. It might be drawn out fight, or somebody might get caught with a sneaky overhand right. Going for the ground or the double leg or single leg. I think Saryukin has gotten better and won against Oliveira. That's a pretty good win and a pretty good test. I know Microchip, he finished him also. So it's pretty hard pick. I'll go with Saryukin.
Okay.
Just because I have an itch. I mean, he looked very sharp against Oliveira. Islam, he had a pretty rough fight with Poirier. We never know it, but I mean, he probably did take some wear and tear off, although I think he's still healthy. I think Saryukin is a fresher fighter.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Vegas on this one. I think Makhachev gonna keep this streak going. I don't even know how, like Admire said, I don't even see a path of victory for Saryukin on this one. I think Makhachev is gonna do Makhachev things. I think on the ground he's gonna dominate in the grappling. You might see flashes from Arman, but I don't think he's gonna do anything to really sustain that for like a long period of time. Just because,
I mean, what's he gonna have time to do before Islam gets a hold of him? That's the thing. Is like Islam moves so fast, and he's on you so fast. Your only chance of beating him is to knock him out, which he has that one loss on his record. I think it was a bad stoppage, but I mean that's your only chance. And if you're going for the knockout shot, you're already opening yourself to get taken down even harder because you're gonna get taken down. It's just how hard. So you have to be confident in what you throw, but you gotta be reckless with it as well. You got to land on him before he gets you all the way down.
Yeah, my sentiments as well. So I think it's going to be, I don't want to say easy money, but I think it's going to be a comfortable win for Makhachev, and he gets out of there with only that one loss on his record almost 10 years ago. So our picks are all over the place. So it's going to be interesting to see how these fights play out. But Admire, you've been dabbling in any of the FanDuel or anything now that it's legal here now?
No, my FanDuel app still says it's not legal in Missouri.
What? I thought it went live. I want to say mid-December. It finally went.
It worked for you?
I hadn't tried yet, so you might be right.
Because I Googled trying to figure out why it didn't work, and it said that they have till the end of the year to get it up and working. Like they have to get. There's a lot of stuff involved apparently. What about?
Have you tried BetMGM?
No, I haven't tried any of this stuff because I haven't I'm not betting on hockey and basketball, but now that the fights are back, I guess I could start betting on the fights.
I hadn't tried FanDuel. You might be right. I'll probably try to dabble around and see if anything else is working, but that's kind of stupid that they have that long of a time to get things working. I feel like they're missing out on money.
Yeah, I don't know. If I was the Missouri government, I would be like, get this going now. I want the money from it. But
yeah, because when weed was made legal, I feel like that popped up almost instantaneously.
I think it took a little while to get all the stuff put in place.
Maybe I'm having revisionist history. I could have swore it took a month or two before I started seeing things pop up, but who knows? But I don't know. If it doesn't work, it saves people money. So make sure to bet responsibly out there for all of those who partake in that. But yeah, getting to the end of the show. Like I said, new year, and it won't be quite 2 years until April, but this is a new calendar year. So hoping to do big things on the show to grow it more. So make sure to share the word and spread the word of the show. Make sure you get your friends to follow and help boost our numbers on social media. This is, like I said, a pivotal year for the growth of this show. So we want to take this show to the next level. But thanks for all the people out there that are supporting at this point. And we'll all be checking these fights out this weekend. Let's get this UFC show on the road, and hopefully we see a exciting weekend of fights. But that'll bring us to the end of the first show of the year on Haymaker Combat Sports. So everybody be safe out there who are on there on the West Coast in Los Angeles, and everybody out there in the rest of the country, be warm. Make sure to don't freeze to death out there. And until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound. That was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot to leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the great.